On this episode of Star Trek Universe, this is part one of our San Diego Comic-Con coverage and a little bit extra, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in while two lifelong friends talk about Star Trek when they're very sleepy. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson, just hacking away over here. I cut my yard the other day. I've been a little chugged up ever since.
Oh yeah, I've been down here helping out with the family. And I gotta say, man, I'm exhausted. I like brought in a bunch of new furniture to the house today, and yeah, I just been doing a lot for the fam, and like it's just wearing me out. But I'm really excited to hear about all the news. I have not looked into anything. I watched the two trailers. That's it.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right in, man. Let's get into all this news.
Cool, man.
I will sleepily respond.
That sounds incredibly exciting for the listeners at home.
Right? I thought so. It'll be like a game. You can see which news pieces that he reads that did I sleep through, and which ones did I really listen to. Yeah.
Like I've been super busy this week. Like when all this stuff was dropping, or a lot of this stuff was dropping, I was in Atlanta picking Bethany up, my wife.
Yeah. And then you became an uncle again today.
I did. So yeah, not that I did anything with that. I got FaceTime with them for a second, like yesterday or something, but.
Was it today?
It was yesterday.
Or was it? It was yesterday. Same birthday as me.
That's right.
Yeah. They finally did it.
They did it for you.
I figured.
They like looked at their watches, they checked their calendar and said, this is the time that we have to boink.
Yeah.
So we can make the Matt day. My sister, Ashley, told the doctor, we're holding off until it's Matt's birthday. I don't know what you have to do. Put a cork in it or something.
I made that same joke to Alyssa yesterday that they're like, oh, they timed it right. And I was like, it's their third baby. It's their third try. And they finally got it right. They've been aiming for my birthday, all three, but the others, they just did the math wrong. Like this was, they finally nailed it. Yeah.
They wanted it to be special this time.
Yeah. This one will be the chosen one.
The chosen one.
Well, tell me some San Diego Comic-Con news, my friend.
All right, so first up, I want to talk about this Picard teaser, this little teaser trailer. And we just see a lot of the characters, and they had put out these posters of the characters as well. But here you get some interesting little tidbits, like stuff from like Geordi saying like, "My time on the Enterprise made me a better father," stuff like that.
Better husband, a better father, a better man.
And like, got Worf saying, "Do not presume what I've sacrificed for this." Like, okay, all right, I see you, Worf, with your gray head. Yeah, so I think it looks neat. I'm excited about that. They had like a whole panel, and they were talking about how Picard season 3 is going to have a con level villain, which makes me a little trepidatious because I feel like they've been promising that like.
With every Star Trek for like 40 years.
Yes, and that's always what they go to. Like, I remember getting like the old Star Trek Communicator magazines, and every month they would have like here's another interview with Rick Berman, and we're going to talk about the next TNG film. And he would always be like, yeah, well, we're really looking for, a con level villain. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, I immediately mistrust that statement. It's just kind of like, that is clearly just hype. And it's also like clearly just like you aren't the one to gauge that. We are. You know what I mean? Like us, the fans, will decide if something is a con level villain. You saying it only adds pressure to whatever you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it adds pressure if you keep saying that a character is not con and they turn out to be.
True. They did their best to remove all the pressure. Still didn't work.
Yeah. Kurtzman said, that it didn't make sense to do the Next Generation crew on Picard at the start, but after 2 seasons of Picard, the show had earned the return of the crew, and said the team's goal was to honor the legacy of the characters. He says the key thing for us was that we did not want to have the crew sort of come and have cameos. We actually wanted everybody to have significant roles, and we wanted to whet appetites a little bit to see them come back together. So at the beginning of the season, the crew is in different places around the galaxy, and slowly we see them come together. But we wanted to take the time, because these are obviously beloved characters, to see where they are now. And Gates McFadden later on said, you'll see the ensemble. There's some of us, our characters haven't seen each other for years, and other ones, they've been in contact all the time. So you really feel that life has moved forward, and that we're engaged in trying to imagine a future that we all will have courage enough to live and go forward to right now. And I really liked that. I thought that was interesting. And you know, Patrick Stewart said, you know, we carved out new territory in Picard. That is the most essential thing to remember. We are breaking boundaries all the time and reflecting life as it might possibly be. As time has gone by, I have found that I have been able to take more risks, and this was a risk for all of us, and we embraced it boldly and passionately and with belief. And then Kurtzman talked a little bit about the antagonist. He says, Terry was very taken with the idea of kind of doing the final next-gen movie, which I dig. I like that on his face. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
He says, and it was really exciting to approach this from a place of who would these characters be now so many years later. The kinds of movies that obviously Wrath of Khan is a massive touchstone for anybody who loves Star Trek. But I think one of the things that we love most about Wrath of Khan is the mind games between Kirk and Khan and the one-upsmanship.
Yeah.
That has been a real North Star for us this season. The villain that we created, we do have a singular villain this season. I won't say too much other than that, except that she is amazing. It better not be the damn Borg Queen. I swear to God.
I really was. That's honestly what I keep thinking it's going to be.
Right.
You know, the Borg Queen or Jurati as the Borg Queen, you know.
You know what would be really cool?
What's that?
The female Q, as played by Susie Plaxton. Who, like, mated with Q in Voyager.
Yeah, I remember.
Like, if she thinks like Picard had something to do with with Q's disappearance, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, that could be it. I immediately, for some reason, thought of Tasha Yar.
Oh,
like, I don't know why that popped into my head,
dude. If they did Sayla,
yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
If they did freaking Sayla and wrapped that shit up, oh my God.
If they wrapped up Sayla, but also in the process sort of like gave us that, not only the original crew, but like the original like first season crew, you know?
Yeah. If we could get Denise Crosby back in there for a final goodbye as Sayla, that would be fan-friggin-tastic.
Did you see the thing on Twitter this week that she posted, Denise Crosby?
Maybe.
I don't know why, because I'm not a Twitter guy. I see like once a week my phone alerts me there's a tweet I'd be interested in, and I almost always look at it. I'm like, all right, well, Twitter, if you're gonna go through all the algorithmic work to sort all these tweets into the one that you're gonna show me this week, I'll take a look at that one tweet. And this week it was Denise Crosby saying to @Jonathan Frakes, hey, I did some work for the recent DVD box set, and they were supposed to send me a Blu-ray, and they didn't. Can you help me out with that? @Jonathan Frakes. Sure. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's a weird, like, that's a phone call. That's a text. That's not a tweet.
Yeah. And of course, my mind went to that great Harlan Ellison interview where he's talking about how they want him to do like interviews for Babylon 5 DVD sets for free. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, that's the whole, like, I don't take a piss without getting paid for it speech. Mm-hmm. And then he, like, the cap of that whole speech is, and they don't even give you a copy of the DVD after it's done. You're like, it's been out for 6 months. And I'm like, where's my copy? They're like, oh, well, it's in the stores, Harlan. You can go buy it. No, you go buy it. You go buy it.
Yeah, that was just like a weird, sad tweet. For my one of the week, I felt bad. Twitter, do better, Twitter.
Right. You're just like, poor Denise Crosby is like not able to afford the blue. That's what it felt like.
That's what it felt like. And I know that's not true. Like, I'm sure that she has gotten other work. Even if nothing else, she's been doing cons for 30 years, and I'm sure she's fine. But like, man, come on. That's just a weird thing to put on Twitter.
It is a weird thing. I feel like that was more of a, because she's been on more of a kick of like calling people out, you know?
Okay.
Like Rick Berman had like taken a picture of like her communicator badge, and he says, "I remember the last day of filming Skin of Evil, and Denise Crosby gave this to me after her final scene." and she like quote tweeted it and was like, "That's actually not how that went down. Skin of Evil was not my last episode. It was the one where I died. I still had to shoot this one. And if you'll recall, you came out with a cake and you unceremoniously ripped the badge off of me and said, 'You won't be needing this anymore.'"
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay, so this Picard trailer. I was a little, I mean, I know it's just like a teaser, but I was a little disappointed. Yeah. It was cool to see the characters, but honestly, I didn't love the looks of the characters.
Really?
Yeah. I thought they looked a little too clean. I don't know why. Like, it just looked a little too network TV. And I know that it's like just a photo shoot, and like I shouldn't be worried about it. But like
no, you shouldn't.
I wasn't.
You absolutely shouldn't.
It just didn't impress me. I know I haven't seen these characters dressed as their characters in a long time. I should be excited to see that, but for whatever reason, I was just like, I wish they'd waited and just showed it to me in context of the show, because this felt a little cheesy, I guess.
It did feel a little bit.
You know those like EW, Entertainment Weekly photo shoots that always make every movie look terrible?
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like that to me. Yeah, those always make me less excited for the movie.
I do somewhat agree, but I did like the fact that we got new uniforms. They're wearing Starfleet uniforms. Everyone except Rafi is wearing Starfleet uniforms, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Even Seven's in a Starfleet uniform.
I saw that.
I'm digging Worf's Starfleet uniform. I'm digging his like black sash, and I don't know. It was just good to see the characters. That's really all I cared about. That's really all I wanted. And we got some little snippets of dialogue, and I know this isn't what the show is going to look like.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, it was cheese. If they had like, sometimes I just wish they'd wait on things. You know what I mean? Like, wait till you're really ready to show me like what the show looks like, I guess is how I feel about it. But you know, it's nothing terrible. My favorite part was probably LeVar Burton's delivery of his lines. They're just really, really well delivered.
Yeah. What was funny is I showed my wife the little posters, because they did character posters of everyone, and she's like, "Oh, cool! Geordi's eyes look neat." I'm like, "Yeah, that's Do you remember that his eyes were like that in like the last like 3 or 4 movies, like since First Contact?" She was like, "No."
That's pretty great.
Leah Thompson was the moderator for their panel, and she's freaking Leah Thompson, and she directed a few episodes of Picard, and she asked Patrick Stewart if he ever gets to sit in the captain's chair in season 3, and he says that is a complicated question because apparently there are multiple ships. He says the captain's chair, the identical chair on the identical ship, I don't think so. I don't think I do. I mean, there's more than one Enterprise, and that makes it a little complicated. But we do return to the original Enterprise for a while, and and he's talking about Enterprise D, and I had completely forgotten that in those days, we had carpets on the floor. So that's the kind of advancement that has been made. So yeah, he says there's multiple Enterprises, so maybe we get D and E. I don't know. We know that because in Picard they previously said that the Enterprise D was salvaged from Viridian 3 and is in a museum. So That might be what he's talking about.
Or they could break it out of the museum to use it like an old school, Kirk adventure or whatever.
I don't know that it's that intact.
Yeah. Well, maybe they fixed it up.
Yeah.
Like somebody's old car in their garage. They've been working on it. Geordi's been beaming over to the museum every couple weeks to do a little work.
Yeah, if like Geordi was like hanging out with Tom Paris and Chief O'Brien and they were just fixing the old gal up, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, that would be great. I like it.
Let's see. McFadden was talking a little bit about Crusher's journey. She says, Crusher's been all around the universe. You saw the universe from the Webb telescope. I've been all over that place. It's been really amazing to have a chance to return to the character and this incredible man next to me, that's Patrick Stewart, and plunge in again because we're different. We've evolved as characters, and it was really a gift. And I wanted to also thank Terry Matalas for the great story. He was our producer. He did a fantastic job. I will say that this script for season 3, I think is the best stuff my character has ever had on Star Trek. I was thrilled about it, and I hope that the fans will be thrilled too. There's a lot of unexpected things that happen. There's a lot of unresolved issues between Picard and Crusher.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was talking about strong female characters on Star Trek, and she said, it is great to have other strong females. I was great to have Jerry and Rafi and have the chance to work with them. I didn't have that much, but when it happened, it was really great.
Man, she's really slamming Deanna in that.
Yeah. She says, I had a lot of difficulties with this man, and then hugs Patrick Stewart. So apparently there's going to be some like tension between Crusher and Picard.
Right. Yeah, I would think there would be to start at least. Because, whatever happened between them, they didn't like end up together like we always kind of hoped or whatever.
She was like, I wanted to have sex and you just wanted to read books. We all remember that Captain's Holiday episode.
I'm reading books about family. How do you start a family? And she's like, I'm trying to show you, Picard.
Women in the future don't have menopause until they're 83.
That's right.
We can do this.
Yeah. Modern science.
Modern science. Kurtzman said that Brent Spiner is going to be there in the new season, and he's going to be an old new character.
Okay. Of course he is.
I don't know what that means.
That describes every Brent Spiner character.
An old new character. He's just another Soong.
Right. No, I bet it'll be. I'll bet it'll be some form of Data.
You think?
Yeah, they got to do it.
You think it'll be B4?
Could be.
They'll finally figure out how to make B4 work?
Could be B4, could be lore, could be some form of could be lore with Data's memories.
They find lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be lore with Data's memories and struggling to whether he wants to be more lore or be more Data. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but something with one of the Datas, or one of the Soong androids, I think.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that would be more interesting than just seeing another white-haired dude be like, I'm another Soong you didn't know.
Yes. History will remember me, but you won't.
So during the audience Q&A, Patrick Stewart was asked if he would return to the role for another feature film, and he says yes is the answer to that bluntly. I think that would be a very interesting and exciting and worthwhile thing to achieve. And Kurtzman says, I think that in some ways season 3 is that, but of course, look, if you guys love it, let's see what happens.
Kurtzman's like, Picard is dead at this point. I don't know why Patrick Stewart's getting me in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, Patrick Stewart's just like, I want to go on forever.
Patrick Stewart's like,
bring me a Sprite, boy.
I know I was disintegrated, but I dare you, writers.
This is science fiction, and I am a Shakespearean actor.
That's my whole thing, Science fiction, but Shakespeare.
Let's see if I can find some Shakespeare to quote when I am rebirthed another time. My third birthing, I shall read from Macbeth. Another fan question brought up the idea of someone playing a young Jean-Luc Picard like James McAvoy had done for the X-Men. And Stuart says, I find it very difficult to answer that question because it would mean stepping outside who I am. And as I've been trying to explain, Picard, is here inside me. So I don't think it has to be necessarily somebody who lost their hair at 19, but someone with the feelings and the spirit, particularly when he watches Picard, and especially season 3, because that's where some of the surprises and shocks occur. They really are shocks. So wherever he is, I wish him well.
Man. Yeah, this is his last season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably for the best.
yeah.
That was some word. Man. That was some word soup, man. I'm just saying. I love the man. I love the man.
Yes,
but that was some word soup.
Absolutely. It's kind of gotten into like a little bit of Shatner territory where it's like, I will never play Picard again, and then like a few years down the line, I'll never stop playing him.
Yep.
He is me. He is here. He's listening to us right now.
It's also become a little bit of like over serious self-parody too. Like Picard is the very, like, as you said, the Shakespearean captain, you know, he's like all drama, and the way he's talking about the character, he almost sounds like how Picard would talk about the character. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just like very, very grandiose. And when you think about like Shatner in his older years, he sort of becomes a little like Kirk-esque in the way that he's like, no, don't tell me what I'll play. I'll play when I want to play. I'll be the guy. I could be the guy forever. Like, it's a very like Kirk-esque portrayal of himself. when he talks these days, I feel like Picard is reaching that, or like Patrick Stewart is reaching that level.
Maybe. I hope not. But that was some word soup, as you said, for sure.
It almost made me think like he's trying to hide the truth. Like that was a pretty direct question. Is there a younger Picard in this season? He's like, let me swirl words around so you forget what question you asked. So maybe he's like a crazy old man like a fox, you know?
That's probably what's happening. Well, if look, did you hear about all the stuff with Shatner at all?
No.
Like, I didn't include it in the notes, but I figured it would come up at some point. But since we're talking about Shatner, he basically did like this whole thing where he was like, they had all these photo ops with Paul Wesley, who's playing Kirk in Strange New Worlds, and then but at San Diego Comic-Con on like at his little thing, Kirk on Kirk, he got up and just shit on the new Star Trek stuff. Oh. And he was just like, he was like, I knew Gene Roddenberry for 3 years, and he'd be spinning in his grave at some of this stuff.
Yeah. So actually, I did see that headline, but I didn't read it. So like, I didn't care at all what he has to say, honestly. But like, why? What was he saying?
That's what he said. That's what he said. There's not really a context.
So there was no like context or like meaning.
So not to me, it wasn't.
It's just he said that.
Yeah, and I didn't like watch the video or whatever because I didn't care. But like that was the quote that was given as far as me.
I saw that quote floating around.
Like I read the article, but I was like, okay. And so that's what he said. All right.
Yeah.
But this is also Shatner, who has never seen an episode of his show, Patrick Stewart's show, or any other Star Trek, according to him, at least as far back as 2006.
Yeah, I think he's probably not telling the truth, but like, no. He's just being blustery William Shatner. He's got that Kirk spirit in him.
Well, based on his Twitter interactions, I think he's gotten in his head that, he's more popular with the Star Trek fans who are like, no, this is bullshit. The old stuff was the way. So like, he's just like, he's gotten into trouble for, yelling about presentism and He's openly attacked the Spurk fans, you know.
Spurk?
The people who ship Kirk and Spock.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't ship Kirk and Spock. I don't see it. I don't think they were ever supposed to be more than friends. But if somebody else wants to think that, whatever. I mean, but for William Shatner to come out and be like, I played him as straight. Your world is a lie.
Don't enjoy your show how you enjoy your show. Stop deluding yourself.
Stop waving at clouds, buddy. Stop waving your fist at clouds.
Oh, man.
Anyway. Yeah. Let's move on. A deaf fan, through an interpreter, mentioned how inspiring it was to have Bruce Horak Himmer represent the blind community on Strange New Worlds. And they proposed Kurtzman do the next best thing and cast someone who is deaf. Kurtzman said, it's a terrific idea, and it's definitely something that will take it to the next... And then he pauses for dramatic effect. 2 Star Trek shows that we are currently developing. And then he also hinted, another fan who mentioned how impressed she was with the robust female characters in the last several shows, and asked if there could be a spinoff with a female captain, possibly led by Jerry Ryan or Gates McFadden. And Kurtzman said, first of all, I'd say anything's possible. And I'll say, without revealing too much, you could certainly expect to see more Star Trek shows with female leads. And then Gates McFadden responded with, sweet, I do know how to drive a ship, remember that.
That's awesome. Speaking of a deaf actor, actress, have you seen Coda?
No.
Oh, what a charming film. It's
really?
Yeah, it won Best Picture this year, 2022 for last year.
Means nothing to me.
Yeah, I hear that. We just did it. We did for Bingers Assemble, we watched all 10 Oscar Best Picture noms and like tried to just discuss each one and then sort of like discuss the horse race of it all and which one we wanted to win and which one we thought would win, that kind of thing. And Coda, man, it's good. It's good. And it won, and it's like really, really just a killer piece of work. Like it's an actress or a full family of deaf actors playing with the only hearing person in their family. Like there's one girl who can hear, the rest of her family is deaf, and it's all about her like trying to struggle with whether she should become her own person and go off. And she's also a singer, so it's like this whole like tension between she's doing this thing that they just can't. It's not even like it's such a beautiful moment because like it's not just that they think she's being frivolous because it's an artist thing. It's literally an art form they just can't even understand. Like they don't have the sense. It's like I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Like her family doesn't have the sense that is required to understand her art form, and she believes she wants to be a singer. And it's like this, just pure emotional like reaction to that sort of like thing. It's just really good, man. I love it.
Yeah, man. It's like Rot Blot fan.
I don't know what that is.
The F sharp bell.
Still means nothing.
Now you know how I feel. I'm just kidding.
I feel like I explained myself well.
No. I'm kidding about that part. No, it was a really cool story from Alan Moore in DC Comics where this Green Lantern is running around trying to like recruit new Green Lanterns, and she comes across this creature in a part of space that has no light. There's absolutely no light, no stars, no sun, nothing. And she finds this creature who's worthy and tries to teach the creature, Roblot Fan, what a Green Lantern is. But because they have no light, he never evolved to have eyes. So, like, he moves around by hearing things. So they basically created, instead of a Green Lantern ring, a F-sharp bell.
Oh, okay.
Ring.
Interesting.
And that's, so in his section of the galaxy, he patrols that galaxy as the F-sharp bell. And it's made for some interesting stories, but
that's fun. I like that.
But he had no concept of what light was.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
All right, we're going to talk about this Discovery a little bit. This was actually in a UK Radio Times interview.
Oh, interesting.
I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interview. She was asked about some of the criticism of how the series, she was asked about some of the criticism of the series. And she says, I love talking about this because let's be real, we are very different than other iterations, and we had to find ourselves. We had to find our identity and settle into it. And the fact that we are hyper-serialized, the fact that we sort of reinvented ourselves over and over and over again, and I have to shout out our writers for that. There are a lot of changes because the fan base for the franchise as a whole, and the fan base for Discovery in particular, is a highly intellectual, loyal crowd. These are very intelligent people who have such a depth of passion and heart and loyalty to the franchise. And so they have an ownership. They've carried it with them for years, and it's meant a lot to them for years. And so because of that, their voices, I think, deserve to be heard, and we appreciate their voices, even if they are in disagreement with us, even if they're criticizing. But I get where you're coming from, because this means a lot to you. And it's hard to be different with something like this. And it was hard for us to be different, but I think we've really found ourselves, and I think our fan base has really found that sort of relationship with us as well at this point. That's not to say that we're robots and that we don't care when we hear somebody being really angry about something that we've done. It's like, oh man, that sucks. But at the same time, we're like, yeah, but we understand where you're coming from. And then there are many people who are like, but I love the changes. So there are so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
And isn't that the whole point, is to serve as many perspectives? That's the whole point of diversity and inclusion. Everybody's got to be represented. So I get it and I hear you, but maybe you'll change your mind. And if not, you're allowed.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I like how there's all this point of we respect everyone's opinions. We ain't changing.
Well,
they asked about
kind of say that they've been changing the whole time, and maybe they'll come around to some version that these people like. But I respect that, though. I respect that sort of we're gonna make the art we're gonna make.
Yeah,
we've been doing that. We're gonna continue doing that, and hopefully it finds the audience that does love it. And we can't focus on the haters; is not going to really do any good.
Mm-hmm. And she was asked about season 5 and a possible end game for the series. She said, "Mum's the word. A taser will come from the ceiling and get me. I know that it's going to be great, and I mean that. I can tell you that. Lots more Discovery. I can tell you that too." When asked specifically about the long-term future of the series, she says there haven't been any discussions of an end game. She says the show is definitely rolling forward, thankfully, but there haven't been talks about the end game yet. We talk a lot about things that we still want to see, or at least they share with me ideas that they have. I talk about things that I would like to see, not just with Burnham, but with others and with the story as a whole. So there is forward thinking, absolutely, and there's foresight being applied, absolutely. But thankfully, we're not having end game conversations yet. So, just a little more iteration that Discovery is not dead. Yeah. It might be the least talked about thing at this point.
So she still hasn't seen Endgame? Came out years ago.
It's pronounced Ngame. So over to Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds!
Yeah. Tell us all about it.
I liked this. When asked what it was that interested him about Pike originally and going forward, the actor, Anson Mount, says, "This is a very broad way of putting it, but if Kirk represented machismo and Picard represented intellect, I want Pike to represent heart. And I really think that decision is in the second season of Discovery to make Pike aware of his future was a very smart one, because it took what is a tragic ending and turned it into an act of choice. And the repercussions and the fallout from that choice really helped put more pins into who this guy really was."
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
He talked about how the season 1 finale was a key pivot point. He says, in that last episode, Pike shows up and shows him what's going on. He says, he never says you don't have a choice. He still has a choice, but when he realizes what those other choices are, there really is no choice. So I feel like in that sense, having got past that now, the fully fledged Pike the whole self-accepting Pike is really starting, and I hope we get to deliver the third act of Pike and find a unique way of overlapping with TOS. He also talked about how he saw the events of the finale changing Pike. He says, one thing I was thinking about making that finale is how many stories with people who have been given a terminal diagnosis who will tell you, I have never been more alive, because suddenly all the crap you thought that mattered doesn't. And I thought it put him in that space. So yeah, I think we were talking about it earlier before the show, and I said something about it wrapping up that part of Pike's story a little bit. Navia Erica, who plays Ortegas, was talking to Variety and said there will be more for Ortegas in the upcoming season. She says the biggest storylines in season 1 are not me. My thing is, like, I'm flying a ship. I don't have time to have all these emotional conversations. We're definitely going to see some big arcs in season 2. The payoff will be there. I think we're building up to something really beautiful and really compelling. It's a joy to play the part. And then on Slash Film, she says Ortegas does have an episode in season 2. We love Ortegas. One of the great thing about Ortegas is that she fits so well into every story because she's always kind of in the center of it. You know what I mean? I like to think of her as the person who gets to comment on every single story. Ortegas gets to do a bunch of things that she does in season 2 that she didn't get to do in season 1. So I'll leave it at that. And on talking about how she's really sarcastic, her character is super sarcastic. She says, I knew from the beginning there was a comic aspect to Ortegas and what she brings to the crew, but what I really wanted to avoid was the obvious comic relief. I always go back to the writing. Yeah, well, I know I'm biased, but the writing is so well done, and it makes it easy to bring her to life. I could see in the script that the reason she's able to break the tension to have these moments, especially with Pike, is because she is so skilled and so confident in what she does, and I love that. She's a soldier and a pilot, and so much of what I've heard from actual soldiers and pilots is she is the most authentic crew member in that her gallows humor is exactly what happens in life and death situations. I see trolls on Twitter say she is not professional enough or she's not this enough, which in my gut, I feel that misogyny. So when I hear from actual soldiers and pilots that she absolutely is doing what they're doing out there, that to me is the highest compliment. The first season explored romantic storylines and histories for a number of other characters, but not for her. In her interview with Variety, she says, I've been playing Ortegas to be very much like she's super loyal to her crew, and she also has a crush on probably all of them.
That's funny.
And by the way, you had asked whether or not, like what was her label, what was her pronouns a few episodes ago. And she's saying here, I don't want to sound like it's a flippant thing, but she doesn't have to put a label on it. I like that we're approaching it in a way that nobody bats an eye, like they shouldn't, right? Everybody should be a bit queer. Everybody's a bit queer, I feel, and in that way, me too. This has been my whole life, and I'm so happy about it, but I know I give off this wonderful queer energy. It's just been a part of who I am. She says, I think we're going to see, I can't say anything, but I think we're going to see that for Ortegas. If she relates to somebody, if she likes somebody, it doesn't matter who they are, where they come from. If there's a connection, she's going to go for it. So that, that's a little bit of, of where that character's coming from.
Yeah. I see that.
I have not enjoyed the character very much. I don't think it's misogyny on my part. I just don't like the character very much. I'm open to it changing, just to point it out. Like, I just haven't liked the writing of the character so far. But I hope I love Ortegas in the next season.
So I know a guy who is pretty misogynistic and like very.
Are you trying to talk about me?
No.
Is this a story about me?
This isn't a story about you. Not this time.
Okay. Yay!
I know a guy who's pretty misogynistic and whatever, and like, I made Alyssa so nervous because he's like married to a friend of hers, so they we socialize every once in a while or whatever, and he's just like, he just has all the views that are opposite of how I think I see things, and so he came. Yeah. We were sitting at something, and he was like talking about Star Wars, the Obi-Wan show. And he's like, yeah, I just don't like it, man. I just think it's written poorly.
That's what they always fall back on.
Yeah. I was like, you're one of those guys who doesn't like that Reva character, aren't you? And he was like, well, yeah, she's written really poorly, and like she just started talking about it, and I was like, "You racist bastard!" And that's all Alyssa heard from like across the table. So like, I said it in such a way that like there was a hint of truth to it, but also like I was saying it in such a way that it was clearly like I was being overly ridiculous with how much I was calling him out for it, you know? But Alyssa only heard, "You racist bastard." And she got so uncomfortable. She was like, "Oh no, what fight is about to happen?" It was really good.
Yeah, but yeah, those people might as well say like, "Oh, it's written poorly. She's written poorly." For example, she's black and has a vagina.
Exactly.
That's not good writing. That's terrible writing.
We started talking about how she's written, and I was like, "So she's this and this." I started naming all the traits of her that weren't those two things, and I was like, "So she's a like, you know, whatever." I started naming. I don't want to spoil Obi-Wan, but like I started naming all this really cool stuff they did with her character, and like I described it in a very like epic way that just made it sound like a really badass character. And he was like, "Yeah, that all does sound really good." I was just like, "Yeah, it is. It's really good."
You racist bastard.
Anyway, so how much we got left? What we got left?
Fair amount.
The old news.
The old news here. Jason Isaacs says that he has talked to Akiva Goldsman about coming back as Prime Lorca. He says
I saw that.
He'd be into doing it. He said he'd want it to be a good storyline like his Season 1 Mirror Universe secret. He says the story would have to be great. It was a fantastic storyline. All actors ever want is a secret. And I had the biggest secret of all, without spoiling it for anyone. He's such a dour person, though. He says, if people haven't watched it already, it's unlikely they'll watch it now, but there is nonetheless a fantastic secret, and I had to play it, and I knew it. Like, Jason Isaacs, don't you know about the streaming? You know about the streaming, right?
Yeah, like a lot of people will probably watch it after now.
But yeah, he says, I'm working with Akiva Goldsman right now, who wrote and directed quite a lot of Star Trek Discovery, on a Tom Holland miniseries, The Crowded Room in New York. We've talked about Prime Lorca, and it would have to be as good a story as Season 1 of Discovery. I don't want to come back just because he's a fan favorite and do some version that isn't anywhere near as good. If there's space, they have so many brilliant series up now. Strange New Worlds has been a massive hit as well, and Picard is a huge hit, but where and if there's a space for Prime Lorca, I'm up for it. I don't want to come back just to squeeze into that sausage skin tight suit.
I love the idea of a Prime Lorca coming back because it just would give Jason Isaacs the chance to just play a completely different version of that character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all watched him for a season going like, this guy is not very Federation. And then, of course, he wasn't.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah, he's more like Terran Empire, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. It's like so funny that how many people like that turned off of the show, and then you're like, yeah, it was a ploy that was happening. Like, just watch till the mid-season, buddy.
Yeah,
give it a little time to marinate.
Marinate.
Yeah, you gotta let your shows marinate, saute, grill. I'm hungry.
Pressure cook.
No.
No?
There's just nothing romantic about a pressure cook, you know?
Yeah. I guess so. I don't know. I fancy a crock pot myself.
Oh, there's something romantic about a crock pot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those vegetables like it slow, Dave.
Yeah.
Those vegetables are in a crock pot, not a microwave, if you know what I mean.
Like I got, the pieces of broccoli and carrots in there going, I like a man with a slow hand. Hey, this is exciting. On the Strange New Worlds thing, on the panel, yeah. They were doing it, and Kurtzman was teasing this big crossover, and then Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid crashed that portion of the panel, and they announced a crossover with Lower Decks with Strange New Worlds.
Okay.
According to Paramount Plus, the special crossover episode will be in season 2 of Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds.
That's what I was going to say. Like, that's weird. I was thinking it would be in Lower Decks because it'd be easy to transpose those characters over.
Yeah.
But to bring the characters from the Cerritos onto Strange New Worlds is a whole different deal.
Yeah. The episode will feature both live action and animation. Fans can expect to see Beckett Mariner, voiced by Tawny Newsome, and Ensign Brad Boimler, voiced by Jack Quaid from Lower Decks, joining the USS Enterprise in Season 2 of Strange New Worlds. And the episode is going to be directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Interesting. That is very strange.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, that's a swing, man. That's a cool, weird thing to do, and I dig it.
That is. I'm down. I'm very interested.
Yeah, me too, man.
What I think is really interesting is, like, not only is it going to be like live action and animation, they're spanning centuries here. Like,
yeah,
they're in 2 different centuries.
Right. It makes me think of that. Trials and Tribulations.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if it'll be something like that with time travel, or what. I just have no idea.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested.
Yeah, especially the fact that it's going to be on Strange New Worlds. That's weird.
Yeah, and I think it's like I guess probably my favorite two series interacting. That's not just Prodigy.
I was gonna say, what about Prodigy, man?
Yeah, I remembered Prodigy at the end of my sentence. And I was like, damn it, Prodigy! There's so many Star Trek shows right now.
I don't know what's my favorite right now. I really don't.
Of the GNU stuff, I mean, my favorite would always be DS9 and TOS.
Yeah, no, I'm trying. Oh, I know we got to get off here soon, but I did want to just a quick nod to the trailer, which we'll discuss in the next episode a little more deeply. But they put out the Lower Decks trailer. Man, they're going to DS9.
Yes, they're circling those pylons.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah. Just circle
around and pretend we're in all of the pylons.
Then it just cuts to a direct facsimile of the theme music. Opening or whatever. It's so good.
Right. I loved it.
I love it too.
Just keep circling.
Can't wait, man. I can't wait. And so there's a bunch more news, but we're going to have to cut it at about an hour now. I guess we'll come back in a couple more days and do another SDCC Comic-Con news episode. Yeah,
I guess so. I guess we'll have to.
I'm down.
We'll talk about that trailer for Lower Decks.
Yeah. Ugh.
As
the DS9 is the thing I'm most excited for.
Mm-hmm. I'm down with that.
What was that?
That was my throat drying out after so much talking.
So much talking, and it's 1 a.m, and I've been up all day working with my family, so I'm like, I'm fading pretty good. So we're gonna pick this up another night this week and do more San Diego Comic-Con news. So we'll be back in a couple days, guys. Man, there's just so much to talk about. We just did this for the Marvel stuff, yesterday, and I haven't even had time to edit it yet. So there's just so much out there. So much is going on. So much news came out of San Diego Comic-Con this year. Well, my friend, thank you for chatting with me about Star Trek. I always enjoy it.
Yeah, man.
Well, guys, we'll be back very soon. And to all of you, I say, just keep circling.
Damn it, that's going to replace Joel True and Live Long and Prosper, isn't it?
Maybe so, man.
Just keep circling.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.